This is Wayward Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. As you already know, Wayward has already started the 101 lessons, meaning the monthly lessons. So you can hit me up in reference to that. You'll see the phone number there on the website. So you can hit me up in reference to monthly 101 lessons. But however, it doesn't stop you for getting further services and further help with your frequencies. Doesn't matter if it's dealing with occultism, spiritualism, whatever it may be, shit, atheist, whatever you're going through, shit, deprogramming issues. Remember, I offer of course, abortion, spiritual care, spiritual counseling. That's a whole other energy behind that. Just all the above, advocating, shit, dealing with image frequencies, giving various energies with that. But understand, work is separate from all of that, but it can be incorporated again at a different cost. So understand all the above of the energies. However, you already know that Wayward is about that underground occultism that I do. And you know that Wayward is about that revenge, redemption, responsibility, and that motherfucking spell work. And art is occultism. Occultism is the motherfucking art. And it seems I have to continuously say to you that my channel is about occultism, occult gossip, occult shit, urban voodooism. That's what's up with this particular channel. I talk about all the occult shit that connects in the universal soul. It looked like it's been a lot of programming going on. And I hate social media. I hate it with a capital H. It is a whack-ass energy. I hate the AI effect. I hate the chat GPT. I hate the fact that we are in air. And I told you about air. And I said there aren't any maritime laws for air because air equals water. Water equals air. There isn't any judicial system. There isn't any system that's dealing with law, politics. There isn't. They're just telling you shit in the air. Okay? So I was looking at some energies. And this whole Trump energy is on whack time. It's just hellish, and I just kind of want to go through some frequencies, right? So I was like, and I'm just writing out stuff, just fishing around, and I said preemptive programming. That this is all what this is, preemptive, to stop you from motherfucking thinking. Okay? So I started to go back into the old school objective and subjective thinking. You know, they have to give a word for it because especially fire and air, they most definitely have to understand the word. And however, I said an objective mind and a subjective mind. And I started to understand with the preemptive programming, they have to refocus your brain. They can't have you thinking. So they make sure to reseed the brain, to create a hypnotic energy where you can't think, and give you codes and give you certain preemptive frequencies so you don't have a thought, and then pull you down to the lowest common denominator into your subjective thinking, but not in its proper form, not in its form of hierarchy or intellect, but put you in a child's place of tantrum, fear, hallucination, craziness, anger, reactive frequencies, right? So therefore they are pulling you in your subjective, because remember, you know, the left side of your brain is your objective and your right side of the brain is your subjective. So that's why you hear the lefts, then you hear the rights, then you hear this, then they switch it up. But we have to just kind of play their game and see their psychosis and their coding. So then what they do is, after doing all that study, you know, the focus group, the cults that sit up and study psychology and all of that stuff, they'll sit up and say, well, cognitive. So they have a cognitive target market. And the cognitive main target market, funny enough, is really between the age of 15 and 55. If they can get you between, you see that long stretch of 15 and 55, they'll have you losing your goddamn mind. But the time you're 60 years old, you fucking cooked. You already fucked up. So think about the pandemic. They had teens of 15, kids tripping. They had people of middle age, millennials, Gen Zs tripping. Then you switch it up, and then you get the people going in hysteria and craziness in their 60s. So they already cooked because they believe in all this, and you can't come to my house because you have that whoop wop, and you got to get the shot before you come to this wedding. You can't be around us. Or if you working, say you a driver, oh, we'll prefer that you get the whoop wop, Oh, it's a cold game and a cold spell they play with us out here, right? So they're already targeting us and been targeting us for decades. So then, after doing all this, they have you under mentally controlled. So by the time you hit 60, you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know what the fuck social media is. You just know that where you used to be able to look at the news, turn on shit. Do you notice you don't even have cable anymore? Remember back in the day you had, what is it? HBO, Cinemax, Showtime on one thing, then you may have some other shit going on. And now they got all this streaming shit, and we done forgot about all of that stuff. And you had your cable stations with your internet and everything going at the same motherfucking time. So now you don't even have that. You can't literally go on to you remember they had all the stations on one, and then you were able to click on to, I'm just saying, Carolyn, that's San Francisco, Carolyn, Channel 4 News. You'll be able to look at your news and keep it the fuck going. You can't even look at your news. They got that shit streaming in air. You can't even sit on your fucking couch. Right? You can't even have your old school nostalgic media. They call it something else, I can't remember, but it's I'm gonna call it the nostalgic media. They intentionally got rid of nostalgic media. You black people don't even have record players anymore. You don't even have albums anymore to even get back on earth because you're too busy listening to Spotify and YouTube in air. And that's a different frequency. And you even have to be careful of record players because they have changed the frequencies with that you don't get the full energy. But sometimes when it comes up to music, you got to get yourself back on earth. They have albums and records, that's Saturn. Albums is nothing but Saturn, the Saturn energy. Okay? That's a whole other frequency, but sometimes you need that. We have to get back on earth because we're in the air. And therefore, now that they have us mentally controlled, they can easily influence you into bullshit. And the older you get, the worse it is. They start you off again between the real age focus is 15. At 55, they really got you. By the time you're 60, oh baby, you already controlled. You've been controlled, but now you just cooked and you just believed anything. Just peep the game. So we out here caught up on, like, in AI, ChatGPT, social media, and the fun, and there's a whole paradigm to this whole energy, the cause, and the interruptions, and the concentration and the concentrating of it all, right? The bottom line is that all of this paradigm frequency is to have you so physically and mentally relaxed, so they can really attack you. It's what they say, it's like causing you to fall backwards. So remember, what is that movie? and the psychologist was playing game. What's it called? Get Out. And remember, he was falling backwards. Do you understand this shit been going on for decades in psychology, to play games with your mind, to have your brain so comfortable and so controlled and conditioned, and have it relaxed so enough, and you just under hypnotic frequency. And then as you're so relaxed, they want your body physically comfortable. They want you mentally relaxed. And then all of a sudden you just start falling backwards with everything, and then they have you under control. Then next thing you know, they create AI, social media, chat GPT. They have you tensed up and tensed up and tensed up, and they keep feeding you all of this shit, and they have basically stripped you of yourself, because between the age of 15 and 55 you've been under such mental control. And then the bottom line is that through these years they just keep stripping you with shit and get you so comfortable, but you don't even know what is right, what is wrong, what it ain't is what it is, and what it is what it ain't. And you guys just fall under this psychology, this preemptive programming, don't even know. Then by then other energies and mixed companies can come in and start to embed their energies on you, to instill it, change religion, change your mind, force feed, you got all of this shit going on, right? And that's what we're looking at right now, even with this shit with Trump. They have really fucked up our social media. They are really trying to soul mount Trump on us. In a minute, we're going to be Trump. That is a cyber soul mounting. When they keep at you, they keep repeating it, they keep going. Yeah, we could call it conditioning, but I'm talking about the energy of it. This is an energy. It is an energy force. This is a different type of soul mounted. This is not your usual ritual. This is dealing with the cyborg, that we're looking at it through our lens and through our pupils, through our irises, and it's hitting the back of our brain and it's getting into our spinal cord. Then we become him. We become the bullshit. So we're walking around as fucking Trumps. Because we are so relaxed, and they have fucked up our objective brain. The real interesting of really fucking up our objective brain was during the pandemic. They have been doing it. Now they just came in for the arrow. Right? So the real preemptive energy is when they got black people and people under Obama. You guys and our bodies became real comfortable, and we got conditioned. Because when Obama was elected, you got to remember, some of your millennials or your Gen Zs, I'm going to say some of your millennials, well, would we say early millennials? No, or older Gen Zs were 15. Now they're adults. So they thought Obama was the promised land. Didn't even know that was the whole Antichrist right there. They didn't know he was a psyop. They didn't know he was an op. They just know that their parents voted for this man and he seemed like the Messiah. Right? So then you have people from 18 to 55 voting for Obama. And then when you got to the 60s, they was just under Martin Luther King. Okay? So you have to understand, when white people vote and they're older, they're under Martin Luther King. They're always going to think Martin Luther King and civil rights. Just talk to them. They're always going to have a Martin Luther King picture behind them, especially white folks. Yeah, you know Martin and Martin and Martin. That's a cold game and a cold piece of spell work, right? You got to understand these psyops. White people don't like you all like that. They like Martin Luther King. Because Martin Luther King calmed y'all nerves. They don't need you to have any anarchy or overthrow the government behavior. So they created this man called Obama and got you under the preemptive energy. They receded your objective, increased your subjective, but lowered you down into child frequency, and then fuck with your cognitive, had a target market, went into a system, had you enough comfortable, and then pushed you backwards into the rabbit hole, and you fell in it, and now you're trying to get out or you can't get out. Which leads into the conditioning of Trump and to sit up and play with your mental, because the cyber frequency is a whole different type of game. It's a whole different type of mind control, because some of you people out here believe you're Trump. It doesn't matter. You live Trump. You breathe Trump. You are Trump. I'm looking at the game. They could, some of you guys out here playing the game, tell me you should have voted for Kamala. Kamala came out as Indian. What are you talking about? Then when her ass didn't get elected, then after that, they returned her to black. Because I'm telling you, I keep telling you, black people in the Bay Area, I'm from the Bay Area, I had no clue that she had any type of Indian anything. All I know is she dated Willie Brown and Montel Williams, and she was a motherfucker, that DA shit, and she was trying to put parents in jail. But again, she was well-spoken and everything else, and she was not liked. And then I know some side shit and some side shit and some side shit, and call it a day. Because I know some of you guys are really hypnotized underneath that bullshit. That was a psyop. I think about all that shit. I said, damn, what happened to London Breeze? She sure disappeared. And San Francisco mayor. They got rid of that ass. But now that I look at it, she was meant to put in place to be a scapegoat of the failing and the failing and the disgusting frequencies going on in San Francisco. That wasn't London Breed. That was the people behind her. They always going to give a video of something that's an untruth. And then we're going to have to air to Levi Strauss to save the day. Okay? When I'm talking about us in air, right? There's some energies that's been going on. And I just kind of been like, whoa, we got to be careful. They got us out here on apps. Before apps, we were on debit cards. Like, we would just load up debit cards, right? And keep it the fuck moving. But we still didn't realize debit cards is still on Earth, because you were able to call customer service and talk to a human being, right? Then they created apps, Venmo, Cash App, that PayPal shit, all of that. Yes, PayPal is an app. And some of you would say, well, you could talk to some people at Venmo. Yeah, but it takes a minute. But regardless, before you even talk to someone, they want you to do everything on a fucking website. I have a spiritual constituent who does rideshare. And she was having, some financial energies going on. And what is very interesting, those ride shares are in San Francisco. Uber and DoorDash. I remember when Uber first started. because one of my friends used to work in the building, where Uber started. And also, what is that? And Yelp. I remember when Yelp started. Yelp is in San Francisco. Uber and Yelp were in the same building. Okay. It's funny how from when it originally started where it is today, it's kind of lost its luster. A lot of companies and startups are in San Francisco. You'll be really surprised, if not Silicon Valley. However, she was complaining to me how there isn't a location where she's at where she could go talk to someone or anything. I said, well, they have it in San Francisco. I said, I don't know if you could go to it anymore. I said, but I remember I went to the location for Lyft and stuff because I lost my phone. Anyway, I told her, I said, you need to get a regular job. Okay? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I said, you need to get a regular energy because you're working under an app, which is a robot. And at any time, they could fuck you over. Anytime they can cut you off or say you're suspended or say this or say that. Anytime. And I'd been telling her this for a minute. So she was having some financial strain, and she went to an online air loan company. At least back in the day, when you used to do internet loans, you were still able to talk to someone. But just imagine doing a loan in text message. You can't talk to anyone. It's just all by phone or cell phone. You sign your contract by cell phone, you're talking by cell phone, you're approved by cell phone, but you never get to talk to anyone. And even if you request to talk to someone, they basically deny you and say, we'll just talk to you through a chat. Y'all don't think that's psychotic? Because as it went on, you know how black people are. We'll kind of renege on our shit, or we'll say, I'll pay this shit later. And that's what happened. She's not saying she doesn't owe the money. She's saying, I just have to pay it a little later. The next thing she knows, she's getting her money on Lyft, and Lyft has I guess they could send your payments through the payment portal called Stripe. Stripe payment portal is a motherfucker. I've went through shit with Stripe on some bullshit, okay? And Stripe is also out of the Bay Area. I think San Francisco too. So I said, hold on, what's going on? She calls me up. She's saying they didn't froze my money. Stripe didn't froze my money. I said, how? For what? She said, Lyft contacted me through an email at 9-something at night talking about that my funds are going to be frozen because there's some legal action happening with Giggle, which is a gig ride share loan company. I said, they can't do that without proper legal documentation. They can't freeze your shit. What's going on here? So she was reading me the email. I said, something not right about this shit, right? So anyway, we had to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So just to say all of that, as I was helping her once she got herself straight, I said, hold on, what time did they hit you up? So I looked up the Philippines and India. I said, oh, I see what didn't happen. I said, I told her, I said, they didn't woke their ass up in the morning and seen their work. And these people are motherfucking third worlds, and they don't understand legalities. So therefore, if a company sends them any type of documentation, they're going to listen to what the fuck the document is stating, instead of looking for the legalities, looking for the judge signature, looking for plead paper. They'll just do anything because they fucking ignorant and don't know any better, and they fucking third world. So they don't understand the American justice because they are in a whole other country. That's a fucking loophole. If they in another country and you sending shit over to their country or whatever, their queue, and they're handling shit in their country, anything goes. But in the American culture, anything doesn't go. So that's another reason to look at of why they may plant or open up, sourcing out to other countries, because there's different policies and procedures and guidelines. Just like I had to tell a spiritual constituent who was doing remote work, honey, you in California, that is not regular pay. And the job was actually in remote. I think it was coming out of Florida. I said, no, they have to pay you your worth here in California, but they'll sit up and play games and give you their salary based in their city or state. See, we got to watch out for this. This is what I'm talking about with air. And y'all not saying nothing because you're too fucking relaxed. However, so what is happening in air, they're doing all this remote shit. They're doing all this electronic bullshit, and then moving your shit to other countries. These people don't know what the fuck they're reading, and they're just doing anything. So they froze the Stripe. Then I told her, I said, it's either the Philippines or it's India. For me, I think, you know me, I've been talking about India. I said, I think it's India because with the Philippines, they've been kind of out there for a minute. The Philippines and Mexico. The Indian energy and customer service, you usually would get that in the tech world. But now they are in full customer service, and they are very problematic, more than the Filipinos and the Mexicans. With the sourcing, I peeped the whole things, and Indians tend to cuss you out and tell you to fuck off, and some Filipinos will get with you too. So in their country, if you raise your voice or have a tone, they already ready to hang up on you. They will talk shit. They'll say, I don't have to take this, because they're in their fucking country. They have different policies and procedures, and that's why we're getting such horrible customer service, because the bottom line is that everything is in fucking air. In addition, they blocking you from speaking to customer service because most of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about in the first place. I always have to ask for roadside, can I speak to an American to get some shit done? On real shit. To be honest with you, you may could get some shit done through Mexico. I mean, I'm just being, you call me racist, but I'm just saying what it is from my experience. So anyway, some other shit went on with her where all of a sudden, they froze her PayPal and her Venmo. This giggle. I said, oh, hell no. I said, did you read the small print? So we went over the small print, looking at everything. Nothing says that they're supposed to do that, but she did say, hey, this says that they are affiliated with PayPal. I said, oh, so they reached in air. Do you see what I'm talking about? You fucking around with these corporate entities who's fucking around with air, and they fucking around with different payment systems, and they will try to block everything that is an app financial system. Okay? They literally tried to electronically file a lien against her house. Electronically, this is just very random. So they researched all of her energy. I said, they can't do no shit like that. That's a joke. And thank goodness, hate to say it, thank goodness some things is just not in her name. Because they're playing in your face. So they are electronically filing documents on you. They're reaching onto apps which is air, and there isn't anything to govern the behavior. And these corporate entities are going under these apps that you can't communicate, but as long as they're in the air, they could legally do any fucking thing they want to do and even freeze your financial accounts. But however, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal has turned in, well, especially PayPal has turned into an air entity. I don't fuck around with PayPal. PayPal will hold your shit for 60 to 90 days. They held my monies for 90 days one time. I was like, what the fuck is, hell no, I don't fuck around. Because they are apps. That's air. Another energy, resumes. We gotta watch the game. They have an energy going on for real, where they'll ask for high-end positions. We're not gonna say high-end, like, okay, one position, spiritual constituents, executive, executive assistant, executive administrative assistant. Now we understand that's a high class secretary, okay? But depending on the position, your executive position, aka analyst, remember, because they don't call you an executive assistant anymore. Now they call you an analyst, depending. And you could go from, analyst 1, 2, 3, junior, senior, whatever, whatever. Okay. However, it was a remote position. They interviewed her, I think, by phone. Then moved her to the next energy and had an array of questions where she had to write them out. And I told her, I said, I know about that. I've seen that before, especially with some positions that are executive assistant and they want to see your writing style. Okay, I know that for a fact. However, at first I was like, I said, are you ever going to do a Zoom or FaceTime to interview one-on-one? She was like, they're not even asking for that. And I'm like, So then she submitted her questions. She's she was a public official, so she knows how to write very well. And next thing you know, they hired her for the position. And I said, I said, have you heard from them? Are you going to receive your welcome packet? She was like, oh no, this is something she was trying to explain to me. I said, I said, I think you should really contact them. I said, look up the company, it was some kind of construction company in Colorado. So, however, and I said, So then I think they had a woman working for them or whatever. So I kept telling her that. I said, something seems odd. I said, just do a verification before you go any further. Okay. So anyways, they had her, after they hired her, then they had her sign a contract. And I said, I said, with that contract, there wasn't a welcome packet or anything else, huh? So anyway, she ended up contacting the company as I advised, and she said, hey, an Indian picked up, and all the numbers are real suspect. I said, Then she said she looked up something online that they were talking about remote warnings. And I guess there's something out there in reference, and I don't understand the full tactic, but basically they'll send a check to you pretending like they're going to give you equipment, and then but they want you to buy the equipment and I think send it back. I'm not sure of the hustle, so maybe some of you people would know. And she said, hey, they sent an email. I think they sent an email or a text to her, because a lot of the energies was through texting, saying they're going to send her a check and for her to put it through her bank account. And then I said, oh, and I'm thinking, oh, so then terminate you, then you have to send back the equipment. And I said, oh no. And she was like, yeah, this job is not real. And I told her, I said, you know what's dangerous about it? Do you know how many people that they have swindled and scammed and then took their energies and the likes of them and keep using it for themselves and using it to scam people and more? I said they're going to take your writings and use it for something else. It just gets worse out here. And you heard what I said, Indians. That's in the air. There's nothing governing the air. There's nothing governing this energy. When they out here telling you there's jobs, they're not jobs. They just sat up in condensed positions. I had two different people read me remote positions or job positions. I said, hey, that is 5 jobs in one. I said, those are 5 jobs that 5 different people would do. So they're playing in your face or having jobs sit there. Now I'm learning you get money for pretending to have jobs sit there. They're lying. When they out here playing in your face about college, what's that big beautiful bill, and talking about scholarships, they lying to you. It's a difference in being on scholarship and you have a job and there's jobs out here for you to do, and part-time jobs. There aren't, and they know it. And what they have done, they're playing with the salaries and they have lowered the salaries. That's a third world energy. It's a game, right? I have another spiritual constituent in air. She did a bankruptcy in air. Hired the attorney in air and talking to the trustee in air. And I told her, and I'm peeping shit. I said, okay, now get out of this bankruptcy before it goes to federal court. I said, it did what it was supposed to do. Now get out of it before anything else, because the trustee was playing games. And I was explaining to her, I said, look, you never trust a trustee, because if the trustee is part of the federal, she's going to protect the federal. She's not there for you. She's there to make sure that you don't dupe the federal and getting their money. Okay? So anyway, there is a whole big old fiasco going on. They keep playing with her, pimping about her money and shit. It's getting worse with this trustee. I said, get out of that trustee. Get out. Fuck that shit. You can handle it from here. Okay? The trustee keeps sending shit electronically. The trustee skipped over the court system, skipped over talking to my client, and sent an electronic documents to ADP check company for them to start garnishing her checks. I said, hold on. I said, that's illegal. They can't do that. I said, because it hasn't went through the court system. They're reaching over you. Then I thought about it. I said, is ADP in India somewhere? Is customer service in India? Even though you may speak to people who speak English, but where is it going? Because she said when she called, the ADP lady told her that it's a legal document. I said, oh, it's a legal document because the trustee that sent it is a federal government. I said, no. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. Because that means I could be a fraud ass person, get somebody's license or code or whatever it is, say I'm a federal entity, give you a fucking address and have that shit sent to the address. There was not a court order for garnishment or nothing. And then it gets worse because the trustee increased it. Then her attorneys that are basically in air kept playing with her. And I told her, I said, don't trust those attorneys. It's some shit. They sign off on an increase without running it past her, electronically submitted to the court, and then the trustee sent it to ADP for garnishment increase. I said, get the fuck off of that. They doing this shit in air. And I told her, I said, pull up to the lawyer's office in the world, on earth. So we got to be careful what's going on in this universal soul, right? Anyway, there's a lot of frequencies going on, huh? Some niggas out here are under the frequencies that Fat Joe did voodoo to get rid of Soul Train Awards and the hip hop off of BET. And I found it very interesting because Fat Joe is caught up in some shit. They have him doing anything. In my soul, I said, how in the fuck do you give him an honorary degree and this nigga caught up in shit, right? So all of that giving out honorary degrees was to lower the value of getting a degree. It's really a cold game and a cold piece of spell work. I said, Fat Joe ain't did shit because all you guys are under the same fucking religion. Stop playing in our faces with that. You guys know fucking well why that's happening. One, follow the money. Follow the money. I was listening to what the hell that David Banner was talking about, you know, because Aries be saying all type of stuff, right? And Aries can make shit make sense. I was cracking up in my comments because I said an Aries and got it in his feelings. Talk about, what's your heart on with Aries? I said, oh, this person sounds just like my brother. Sound just like my brother and my kid's father. In practical world, I've been dealing with Aries all my life. I'll be laughing. So, because I know that they get in their feelings. I was listening to David Banner talk about it was the streaming that killed, I'm just paraphrasing, that killed the industry. No, you niggas killed the industry. If y'all would stop sacrificing every motherfucking body, maybe we will have some fucking artists. Maybe we will have a fucking BET hip hop. Maybe we will have a fucking Soul Train. Y'all too busy killing everybody for a fucking sacrifice. And you kill the good ones. I just started looking at this shit. We got niggas out here being sacrificed and murdered. You seen this shit with what's his name, with Rashida and Kirk and they kids killing the daughter's boyfriends, the rapper dude. I never heard of him, but I was like, And I said, that was just a sacrifice. That's it. And them kids and those kids and shit gonna get sacrificed behind Rashida and Kirk. I said, no wonder all that shit was going on. They had to do that. Because I heard that they getting kicked off, or already been kicked off Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Didn't Young Jock get kicked off? Hell, I think heck of people just got kicked off or something, right? I said, yeah, I guess it was about time for something. And he took the blunt. Allegedly. They got these people on drugs. Look at Kodak Black. We don't know if he's dead or alive because in Europe they say he's dead, but in America they tell us he's alive. And they got him wiggling and a jiggling. RICO cases, Bobby Smurder and the rest of these niggas. They took out and excuse me, I'm gonna say the whole Juice World what's it XX Extension or whatever. They make sure to take him out and his whole crew. Some of them in jail for going fucking crazy and shit. Remember, they took out Pop Smoke. They said, nigga, you can't do too much. They take out all these fucking rappers, right? Some of them, they turn them into fucking sex zombies. We can't even get a rap out of them. They create these Glorrillas and these Sexy Reds. They ain't shit. The fuck? Megan Thee Stallion, I'm looking at her and I'm wondering, does she have Down syndrome? They didn't gave her some kind of noble shit. I said, the same bitch that goes into restaurants spitting at the hostesses? Her? You heard me. I said Down syndrome, because now that I'm looking at Megan Thee Stallion, I said, is she autistic? It's the whole industry fucking special. Psychopaths, inmates, Down syndrome, autistics. And the ones that have sense, they really don't fuck with them like that. Right? What the fuck is going on with Lil Uzi? What happened to him? He comes back, he disappeared. The last time we seen him, he was with Beyonce and them dressed as that Inspector Gadget, following behind Jay-Z. I said, Lord, they have him on SSI papers. Who's his payee? Then I said, I don't understand how come they don't push. I call it a different genre. I call it the Neo-Rasputins. How come Tyler the Creator or Doja Cat not pushed a little bit harder? Because they in a whole different world. But that might be a good thing. They got Doja Cat out here looking like fucking Guns N' Roses of the 1980s. I'm waiting for her to pop out and sing Black Velvet and shit. They got her under a new image. They had her at one of her lives looking like fucking Arthur's sister. Remember that show called Arthur? I think I said this. They had her hair. I said, oh, she looked like Arthur's sister. Is his sister named Chloe or WD something? You know, PBS and shit. And she had the whole thing. I said, damn, they got her under a spell. Even though I talked about Macy Gray, she has a different genre. I told y'all she's in that white coat. Or cult. You know me. And I started to look at the many artists that could have been at the Essence. Because I'm going to include Essence with that BET and Soul. I said they made sure to kill off Kashif. We can't even really have Atlantic Star because the lead singer recently died. And remember, his brother left the group because he said he couldn't handle it. He had to go back to Jesus. Atlantic Star. They could have Alexander O'Neal with Sherelle, but we got to make sure Sherelle don't sell dope to Alexander O'Neal, because you know he looking real crackish and shit. And we got to make sure Sherelle okay. I mean, but if we get those straight, you can really have an Essence, right? Then I said, how come they don't bring back Luke James? They have him acting, but what happened to his music career? And I swear, you know, they say he's the godson of Barry White or some kind of connection. I said, I think you're the son. Now I'm looking at y'all, okay. Jose James, they bury that in that indie energy. We don't get to know about a lot of artists out here. There is a whole music genre that can feed your soul. You know what's fucked up? A lot of it is white people. It reminds me of the 80s. Because I went back and studied the 80s. I said there was a lot of white music and artists. It was more white artists than it was black. But I'm saying there's a lot of indie artists out here and we're missing it because they're censoring our heads. They're censoring us from listening. There's heck of music out here and heck of people that could sing their ass off and that are very much beneficial. Right? I was like, what happened to mint condition? Why they keep giving us recycled people, right? Troop. What happened? They could make up some shit. Ready for the world. Shit, it doesn't matter. You know who be having all them people? The fucking Cholo concerts. Have y'all ever seen them Cholo concerts? And they be having the doo-woppers. I said, what in the world? I have to give it to the Mexicans. They be doing doo-wop classic shit. They be bringing the people out. Then I think they had another thing going on. Who is that? Shit, we got Robin S. Even though we're confused about that. CeCe Peniston. What's up with that? I seen something with CeCe Peniston and some lady in Crystal Waters. We don't need Crystal Waters. She could just sing that one song. And keep it moving. I'm saying we have hella old school artists and there's hecka new school artists. And they done got rid of all the quiet soul. So we don't get to hear the new quiet soul energy. We don't get to hear the R&B. Because they got rid of all that and replaced it with all this other bullshit. We don't get to see the new rappers coming out. Do you know battle rapping is still going on? And they not pulling from the pool? They fucked that up when they put Remy Ma on top of it. But then I heard that some of them people riding with Remy Ma talking about fuck Papoose. Because all them niggas are crazy. Allegedly. We have, again, Doja Cat out here pretending to be Sheila E. and shit. Where in the fuck is Sheila E.? That's who it is. I think it's, D.W. Reed, Arthur's sister. You got Surface. Where in the fuck is Surface? Where in the fuck is Chucky Booker? Where is Orange Juice Jones? Where the fuck is Chris Brown? They got him touring like a motherfucker. His concerts are good. I was watching that shit on TikTok. I said, he's a damn good performer. He's better than Rihanna. The fuck kind of hating ass shit was going on here? I don't care what you niggas talking about. He hit her. Rihanna is a sadist. I peeped that whole shit. Y'all can believe what you want to believe. It's more to that energy. And I was really looking. I was comparing. I said, oh, that was a cold game, a cold piece of sacrifice. He's really a good performer. Somebody was telling me that he owes money. I said, well, considering he had been, that shit in London had been happening, I seen on my backstreet media energies that I have, that whole story, him being in jail in the UK was on cap because that shit been happened. I said, oh, they are on cap. Just like we don't, like, remember I was talking about Ozzy Osbourne? Now, what's weird is that they have he and his wife, like as if, what was that? From the 90s to 2021. It's like as if they were divorced. I don't know what type of weird shit going on with that. Then you got Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, I forgot who else, allegedly, that went to his funeral. Yeah, that's a whole different ritual. They playing in our faces. I'm not about to play with that. I was listening to Irv Gotti's brother. He said something very interesting, even though he was talking about the music industry, but I think it's across the board. He said apparently the industry don't want or does not want stars anymore because the stars have too much power. Wow, that sounds very Indian to me. That don't sound, because you know, in Hollywood is a very interesting frequency because you have a lot of Middle Easterns and so on. I said, that sounds very, very tyranny. That's why the industry is dead, because they purposely killed it. Not so much the rituals, is the motherfuckers who tattletaled, because they don't want stars anymore, because they want to control you. You want stars because the stars create a genre and a movement and an energy. And then they have these new type of framed up human beings that's like, kill the rich, kill the stars, fuck them people. Now the world is boring. You want stars because the whole thing is to achieve. You want control. You want a mechanism. You don't want to get controlled by a focus group and third world energy. Middle Easterns like stars. What are you talking about? It's the other people you got to wonder about. Also, Chinese run Hollywood too. What are you talking about? I got to look at the people. I got to look at, who did you sell this to? Who's the focus group? Jewish people like money. But they didn't told on their asses with that Orthodox shit. They hiding out a bit. Shit. But when you have non-talent, you can understand what's going on here. And you know I'm talking about the Indians. Non-talented. They can only do a couple of things. I watch them. I'm not being rude. I'm not being disrespectful. I've watched Asian people, mean like Chinese, Japanese, Koreans. They are really good entertainers. Filipinos. And don't sleep on Samoans. I'm just talking about the Asian energy. I was appalled when I seen Leonardo DiCaprio in a movie. I think it's called The One Battle After Another. I was appalled when I seen him starring against Tiana Taylor. I said, oh no. That is like not it. No. They got him fucked up. He been fucked up since that Praz case. I said, what was he trafficking? What the fuck? He been fucked up since that Leonardo. We just talking spirit gossip, occult shit, so we can look at the world how they play in our faces. And where in the fuck is Praz anyway? Is it Praz or Praz from the Fugees? And remember, he had to testify in that case. Leonardo been forced doing shit. He didn't want to be at that damn Jeff Bezos damn wedding. That's why he tried to hide himself. And he for sure didn't want to be in no shit with Tiana Taylor. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that was some kind of sleeping on the couch shit. That's what they call it. The couch. Seemed a little interesting. What's that? That Russell Crowe and Azalea Banks effect? That's what I picked up out of that. I said, very Russell Crowe and very Azalea Banks. When Azalea Banks was doing all that crying and shit. I hate to talk about her, and people on her team saying what really happened, how she was on the table allegedly butt naked at that shit. They not telling the full scope, allegedly, because you know who brought her there, allegedly, and you can't tell her nothing because she'll come after you, Just like for a minute there, she was trying to come after Solange, saying Solange is not a witch. She's right. Neither are you. Because real motherfuckers don't go show their fucking works on fucking social media. Makes sense how they deflated Lizzo. And now they got her running around losing weight in a blonde wig. The real stars are in the fashion industry. You see how they creating that? So Rick Owens is the superstar. The fashion industry. I've been watching. And I forgot that Mexican designer that does the cholo, I call it the cholo wear. What cracks me up is fashion has gotten worse. When I seen Rihanna, who then already had her baby according to European media, and allegedly she had a girl, so I don't understand what's going on. So I said allegedly, I don't know what's going on. Did you see them have her in that prosthetic stomach with that cotton candy dress? I was disgusted. I said, I can't. I said, can they just sit her down? She's a mother. Let's just let her be a mom. Let's go on. Laura Roach is under my skin. I was talking to a spiritual constituent and she was talking about water bugs. I said, you mean them roaches? She said, those are not roaches. I said, look like a roach to me. He remind me of a water bug. I said, some of the motherfuckers can fly. You know, all roaches can fly. Apparently, some of their species don't know they can fly. So on the same energy when I was talking about the energies of a woman can produce semen and impregnate herself, and people got all offended, and I had an ignorant motherfucker of the time about, you need a man, his dick get hard, and he this, and a man, no you don't. It's the same scenario. As species, we forget. As time brings a change. And I know it's difficult for some, especially for some men, to get it, because women do produce semen. We have our own skein prostate. We have a clitoris that can turn into a penis. You just have to understand that your penis is nothing but an enlarged clitoris. And them balls are nothing but ovaries. And the spirit came in who, if we want to call it the woman of Satan, sold them dick balls right up. Made your dicks. That's why they could cut that shit right off and create a makeshift vagina. It's above your fucking pay grade. He gets under my skin like a fucking water roach. I say, he's a whole chat GBT. He's a cancer man. I say, he's a chat GBT. He thinks he's Paris Hilton. Call me a hater. He believes he's a white woman. I said, damn, you couldn't even be Diane Carroll. Man, you don't have that sophistication because you don't know what burnt champagne is. Look at me, what's going on? He can never pick up the energies of a sophisticated black woman. He picked up in energies of a fake ass white woman acting valley. I said, oh God, I can't stand him. He's a horrible piece to the fashion world. I'd rather for it be Jaden Smith. Could we change cancers? Even though they then sat up and fucked him up and preempted programmed his ass, and he's all under hypnosis and brainwash. They got him so fucked up. He's a whole Michael Jackson effect. It's like, and matter of fact, is that even him? Because the old Jaden looked different in the face. See, we didn't forgot people and we assumed that they got older. No, it's a different frequency, right? So they're making superstars out of the fashion world, right? You understand they deflated Lizzo and then blew up the other Lizzo. You know there's a Latin Lizzo, right? After they deflated the black Lizzo, there's another Latino Lizzo. I think she's Latina. She's big like her. She acts like her. She's in a Latin country. Everything is this Lizzo. I said, so this don't even be their image. They just pass on the image. That's why they out here basically censoring us. That we can't see what's going on with the rest of the world. Yeah, there's a new Lizzo. They pushed this one down, the black one, and now we have a Latina one. I don't know if she's Latina. I think she is. Same body type, same energy, singing the same songs as Lizzo. The other thing that's getting me is someone brought to my attention, like, hey, there's this person named Rianne Brazil. Check her out. And read in the comment, and I'm paraphrasing, it was saying, oh, they didn't renew her contract, so they came up with new ones. The new actors. The actors are the autistic sisters, Shay and Bria. Take your asses. This is what you guys should be using social media for research. Take your asses on social media, pull up Rianne Brazil, compare it to Shay and Bria. Then I said, so that's why that woman sacrificed her son. That Aunt D. We're going to say allegedly. She ain't, that's why. I don't care who, what. That all makes sense now. We out here looking at cyber retardation, but these are fucking actors. You read it all in the comments. And the Rianne Brazil look just like, I think is it Shay or is it Bria? Which one cuts up? Look just like her. I said, these are fucking actors all along. Oh my goodness. Now you barely see Shay and Bria on social media. Right? They out here playing in our faces with these Indians. We don't know what this is. And I had a spiritual or a person forward to me how Buddhism and all of that is black. I'm not disagreeing with it, but you should not be practicing something not from its original state. Don't just practice it and say it's black and it's under hybrids. If you don't see a black person practicing this shit or have the origins of it to get the true nature, then why in the fuck are you practicing it? They give you pictures and frames and you say it's black. So what? Those entities look just like the Orishas. Ifa, Santeria, Buddhism, Hinduism go hand in hand because it is the same entities. That is why you have the Igbos, a lot of them say the Orishas are all females. But you see, they changed the Orishas majority to men and give you a few in women. In Hinduism, what's up? They all fucking men pretending to be women. I've been and caught that shit. Buddha is what? A black woman, but you don't know what it is, but it is an assimilation of who? The Baphomet, which the Baphomet technically is a what? A black woman. But they tell you all this shit about the goat's head. They tell you the shit about the bull's head. But that's all connected to masculinity. Of course, all religions is based off of feminine nature. But it gets hijacked and then you get the end game. You don't get the spirit of it. You get the practical religion. Come on. Anyway, in Bollywood, they call it. How come we didn't know how scammers Indians are? They scammers. They out here making money scamming. So it's a couple, I think, Sammy and Santa, and their last name Mukherjee. They then scammed in real estate and PPO loans. They scammed their own people. They the ones who be sending you those what they call phishing emails and text messages. They in jail right now in Texas on first-degree theft. They out here talking about this billionaire named Abu Sabah, that all the entertainers and Tyrese and them go over there and probably get down with the get down. He lives in Dubai. So there's a whole bunch of Indians that live in Dubai. So in Dubai, their government, I guess the Middle Eastern said, you're not going to be over here scamming, taking our money. Shit, we the scammers. You have this Indian Muslim, over there scamming like a motherfucker. They said he's connected to hella well-known companies scamming, flying celebrities in, doing the most over-the-top caste system. He had an organized crime wave going on and networking, impersonating, again, companies, money laundering, and he's arrested. So in a way, black people are under these Middle Easterns and Indians as slave playmates. And what I mean by slave playmates, understand the energies. That's the real slavery. Being a playmate. Needing little nigglets to come play with the children. But we're not talking about the scamming, but we out here fucking around with their religion that they have recreated and more. We are so distracted, we're not even watching the UK. The UK is something to watch because America is falling just like the UK. The UK is drowning in debt. The UK own money. They let all of those aliens up in there. The aliens came and took over government. You have no more monarch, no more customs and culture. The white people over there getting pissed as a motherfucker. They're protesting it. They're like, we gotta save our lives. The fucks? The same thing over there with the smash and grabs. Breaking into cars, fucking up people's houses, the same thing there. We need to watch this. I had no clue that America has a cap system of how many medical students receive their license, because right now there's a shortage. Are we sure it's just not American medical? Because they seem to be giving medical license to these Indians. Then I went back and looked at that big beautiful act. Now I understand what's going on. What they give, they did give a cap on scholarships. So therefore, if you want to become a medical doctor or whatever, they're trying to say, here's the cap here of what aid will, pay out. Who is behind that? We need a roll call. Who's in the federal government? What the fuck is going on, right? Gaza refugees are here in America. They flew hell of them into San Francisco, into other states. I guess you didn't see that coming. They hid it behind disabled children. So we got more of that going on. Well, we didn't know that in India, they didn't sat up and demolished and got rid of Muslim neighborhoods. The Indians that are Muslims, and you wonder why they're over here, why they over there, and why they over here. You had who they call the father of AI basically warn of a threat, an AI threat, and what will happen. Motherfucker, you're the father of AI, and you get a Nobel Peace Prize. Now you out here scared as fuck and trying to warn the world. Well, y'all don't know because you're distracted that you need to watch out of this shit as more corporate and global entities are using AI, and it's going to work against us. Because they're trying to create a system to outsmart the human. Yes, and it's working because they have done what? Receded the objective brain. And you're falling backwards in the rabbit hole. Oh yeah, now I get what he is saying, right? They didn't had a tech super camp. Well, all the tech people that spent 5 days there, the focus group, to talk about your shit, your life, your energy, and how to take over. We are being taken over by robots. How do we know these motherfuckers are not robots? You would fucking want the reptilians. These motherfuckers getting in their fucking focus groups on a 5-day kayaking trip talk about how they can hinder your human selves. They talk about Ayas. A camp. The pandemic was I feel and believe, and I'm going to say allegedly, was a total hoax. It was a total hoax to restructure the world and restructure America. And it let in some humanoids that we don't know about. And we have no clue. The bottom line, let's keep it right. And I'm going to say this. We've been living next to Middle Easterns forever. We know about them wars. We don't know about these new people. All I know is that wherever they go, it is destruction and it's destructive, and it ends up in a poor society wherever they go. They are paying people to attack black people and to attack black women in social media, and because they are techies, they're good at doing it. We better start to really watch what the fuck is going on here and what has happened, and we slept on it. That's why I told you they are collecting data. The more we get on social media, the more they're collecting data. You people, it's the first day of school in some states, especially Louisiana. Stop showing your fucking kids the first day of school because they're watching that data. You up there have your little girl's pretty hair done, everything, going to that good private school in Louisiana and shit, and they be like, let's figure out to fuck up the educational system and make sure to really cut down on the scholarships. Matter of fact, we are going to be so discriminatory that we're only going to give out back to school packets to the Latinos and to the Asians. And we're going to create, again, a segregated society because we don't want nothing to do with them. Matter of fact, we're going to pay white people to get on social media and say we don't want black people in our neighborhoods because they tear up the neighborhood, but we know that isn't true. So we're going to pay these people to say all this shit about black people. Matter of fact, we are going to become so great in our technology that we're going to create AI to make it appear that black people go into white neighborhoods, purposely damage and cause a fucked up energy in the white neighborhoods. Matter of fact, we're going to hire an Uncle Tom nigga to say, I then went to this white shit over here, and there were no black people, and it was nice and clean and everything. You know, the same old psychosis bullshit. Because I know for a fact, and I learned that, especially in Los Angeles and black neighborhoods, and they took care of their shit. I don't know. I know shit went to the left when Mexicans came in. Now, I don't know about whatever's going on in the East Coast, but I know what I see. And it is a spell work if you do have some energies like projects or whatever with piss and urine. That's spell work. That is an entity. And then you got to wonder what the fuck is that energy built over? Because that's not a normal existence for human beings to be pissing on stairs, feces, all of that. That's not, especially for black people, that's not a normal energy. So there's something else going on with that. So we better keep that where it is. But we have to understand everything. Replace and employ Indians. They even ousted the Asians. That's why I cracked up. I said, why did that Asian man really try to poison that Indian? Remember that shit when he put some poison at his door? And he was getting sick, the Indian family. The Chinese and Asians are not a white man's sweethearts anymore. They used you. We don't know what's going on because everybody is using each other. But the black people are basically the scapegoats and the sacrifice. They're using the same scenario. I live in a neighborhood full of Indians. They see my black ass, they be trying to get their kids away from me. They'll stare, they'll walk. And they will purposely try to put you in a situation of an untruth. No, I gotta watch you. And you got to be careful because I said I've caught Indians standing in front of the house trying to throw some spell work with their mouth. And one of them, she was sitting in her car talking shit and I had to curse her ass back. You don't know what you're walking into. The pandemic was nothing but it was a reset. It's bullshit. All this is bullshit. All of this is bullshit. People out here talking about the Indian kiosk in Miami of them having an Indian doing customer service in India on a fucking kiosk, meaning on a screen talking to you without a staff. But I thought Trump said he want people to get back to work. Do y'all see that power? Do you see what the remote jobs was all about? Do you know how fucked up that is? That's what I was talking about with the air. It gave them jobs. They're working from India on your job. Then what jobs do you have if they're changing everything, trying to change everything to corporate AI shit, and then going on these trips to talk about how to disable you some more? That means it needs to be a hierarchy. Not a hierarchy, but an anarchy. That means there's an overthrow that needs to happen, allegedly. I'm just talking what it is because I'm like, oh, that's fucked up. So you create a pandemic, you have people working from home, then you fire all the American people in air, then rehire third world motherfuckers across the world in air? Have all these Indians buy up all the fucking hotels, they do what the fuck they want to do, and that's cool? And that's not considered racism and DEI? And then they had the audacity to create Asian hate? Excuse me? Now they have cyber teachers talking about in Indiana, the teachers didn't have their license. No, you don't, you're lying. Virtual school, you're lying. You're trying to replace teachers with virtual. And you want kids to come back to school so you can restructure their brain. Stop playing. Meanwhile, you want to come in and bogart your way in homeschooling. Trust and believe, their kids are not learning through no virtual shit. Trust and believe that. The higher your income is, the more educated you will be, even in public schools. They didn't came up with some new infections. What the fuck is this shit in China called chicken Guyana? I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's the way that I'm going to say it. Chicken Guyana. CHIKUNGUNYA. That's caused by mosquitoes. Why are you playing in their faces? They say COVID is back, but in a different strain. And it's supposed to be an outbreak in India and China. Do you notice during the pandemic, they had all them Indians talking, and I realized a lot of them were Patels, but they was faking in India that the coronavirus was happening there, but it really wasn't. They have another one called, what's it called? Syphilis outbreak. Legionnaire. Come on now. You got Justin Timberlake with Lyme disease. I said they keep on with that Lyme disease shit. They was talking about how in 2014 Obama was warning about the crisis coming. Did y'all see where the Somalians did that scamola for over $30 million and that PPO shit and was getting loans and shit under the energies of these schools and was using fake ass names and Somalian children's names to receive over $30 million, and now they're in federal? I wonder, is that old case? They're over here tripping with the Voting Rights Act and being real discriminatory. And talking about, in so many words, that white people want it rescinded because black people are Democrats. I don't know who they talking about. And they can't rescind a fucking thing if you're not under it. If you're indigenous, you're not under what the fuck they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. And the Voting Act ain't got shit to do with us. We are too much hybrids to be under anything like that. Because you could say you white, you could say you Chinese, you could say whatever you want. I'm not under that. I don't know what the fuck they didn't made up. I don't know what that is. You got white people talking about because white people owned black people and enslaved them. No, you kidnapped, you held them for hostage. It's crimes against humanity. I believe all black people need to sue all white people and their descendants because we don't know who you are. That's what it was. It wasn't really so much slavery. You enslaved because you kidnapped and trafficked. And maybe it's time for you guys to go to jail. Somebody has to go to jail. Maybe it should be you. And maybe them Indians should go to jail too, because they was part of the enslavement, including some of these Middle Easterns who are Moors, right? Because we have coon black people getting on social media, some senior citizen lady talking about agreeing with this white man talking about that in so many words directed to black people, that black people in the hood on taxpayers' money buying their kids tennis shoes. I'm not trying to hear that same goddamn shit. Can we talk about these damn immigrants who then came here, got welfare, food stamps, Section 8, subsidized housing? Talk about them. Because most of the time when you see kids with some shoes like that, they selling dope. Your tax money ain't paying for that. And that's been going on for decades. People just automatically assume if you see a kid that's in the hood or whatever projects or whatever, you so concerned what the fuck they wearing, but you may not understand that some of them kids may be doing side busting shit. I seen that shit even when I was in junior high. I had no clue what the fuck was going on. And I'm busting y'all out over there in that Good Hunters Point, coming with them damn motor scooters in fucking junior high. And I realized I was in fucking junior high. They were dressed like a motherfucker. The fuck? Your tax money ain't paying for shit. They don't give enough food stamps and subsidy funds or whatever to pay for anybody fucking shoes. You never think about that the father is still around. I'm not busting anybody out. You never think about the father still around, because welfare and shit, talk about you can't have the daddy around, but the daddy's still around buying shit for their kids. Stop playing. Ain't nobody tripping off your fucking tax-paying money. Shit, if they up there buying them shoes, they didn't already donated and put back into the fucking tax money. Coming with that bullshit. That's still project shit. No, let's look at the real motherfuckers on Indians on food stamps. They on public assistance. Them Hondurans over there in Louisiana on food stamps. I don't care. You guys call it EBT. I'm gonna go old school. They on food stamps. Chinese been on it. I'm sick and tired of them putting the face of food stamps and welfare as a fat black woman. And I'm a fat black woman. Nah, I don't know. Stop lying. You guys been out here talking about that Giovanni murder. And was it Giovanni Pelletier? That 18-year-old whose father is incarcerated and in jail, and he went off with some cousins he don't know. And then all of a sudden the mother then found his items and shit with his cell phone. Is this a real story? I said, that don't make sense. Why would the mother let that 18-year-old kid go off to some grandfather's house that he ain't never met on the father's side of the game with some 3 motherfuckers he don't know? A mother would drive him there. That doesn't make sense. And he looked like he may be thorough. The story sounds ridiculous. I don't believe the story is real. And he texts talking about help. And he a distance. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as that, what's her name, that Tamia was it Horsford that was over there in that good Atlanta, and they and them husbands probably ritualized and sexually assaulted her and then threw her off the damn balcony or porch. It was probably some shit going on. They was probably pineappling, knowing their asses, and she didn't want to be part of it, allegedly. But we don't know if that story is real, but that's what it sounds like to me, because if it's a slumber party, why are their husbands there? And you know, white people be into all that shit, and maybe they was on her doing orgy shit. You never know. Shit got too far and they just killed her. You know, they all be switching mates and shit. You don't know what orgy shit. She don't know what the fuck she walked herself into. And the weird thing, I thought she had a husband. Remember that case? But when you see the alleged autopsy, that's not, the autopsy don't match what they're saying, how she got allegedly fell off. Because it's showing that she has bruises and there's some other things going on. I don't even know if the autopsy is real, but I'm saying that the autopsy not matching what they're saying. But to get back to that Giovanni shit, that shit doesn't make sense. And they gave a whole story tale behind it. And I'm supposed to believe this as a mother? My son wouldn't even go with no niggas that he don't know. On a 3-hour, what? I was uncomfortable when my kid, when my son would go to my kid's father's house and deal with my kid's father, older son. My kid's father did not even want my son around his older son. Then I found out later that older son was selling dope and shit, and then the police came and he put the dope underneath my son. It's that kind of shit. You don't know these niggas. That story sound fake as fuck. We better be watching out for these new codes, the 495s and all that talking about in California. Is it 495? Apparently, allegedly that people can come and pick up your kid without your permission from school. Bullshit. Right? I heard y'all in Atlanta was running for the hills because Sheen done opened up a spot in Atlanta. And you guys were standing around the corner to wear infested ass clothes. That'll kill you at the end. Crazy asses. And you guys all up in that place, and it had all those checkerboards. You guys are under work. I knew that. I said, oh, they under work. Shein is toxic. Those are killer clothes. What you talking about? And y'all ran up in it for that cheap ass shit. You know, like Brazil and France, they want to start locking up people that allegedly be talking about these principalities, that they men. And we should wonder, why are you locking up women who say that these people are eunuchs? What money is behind that? I seen this story in Brazil. Then everybody talking about that French president, that husband wife, and then this shit happened in Brazil where this woman got incarcerated because she said this politician was a man. Whack 100, I'm not too into him, but he said some weird shit about Ray J. That Ray J backdoored him over the earbuds. I said, backdoor? I said, Ray J been running around here as moist as ever. Which is very odd. But I said, is that even Ray J? I said, because he looked like a 1980s gay boy in a fucking porn. That's a whole concept you guys have to understand. I said, he looked like a whole thing. I said, he don't look healthy. Kris Jenner, who's untalented, and we already know, we don't even know who that is, basically want to teach you how to brand yourself. What, how to sell pussy? Cardi B is out here selling Haitian men and black men to prostitute their dicks. Did you see that weird shit she was talking about, where she was saying that American black men don't have big dicks? And she went straight to the Haitians, talk about they have gigantic dicks, and I'm paraphrasing. But I said, that's very interesting. It's very interesting because the Haitians are now connecting themselves to Indian men. And the bottom line, what we're going to have to understand is that when these people out here talking about big dicks and shit, they're really telling men that other men have big dicks. They ain't got shit to do with no woman, because most women don't really like big dicks, because most men who produce a lot of children don't have big dicks, to be honest with you. And I'm really peeping exactly what she said. I said she's code wording, because what is happening and what people are not talking about is that Indian men love them some black big dicks. Okay, we talk about them white men, but yeah, and especially Asian men like big black dicks too, especially Jamaican dicks. They like that. And in these new type of sources coming in, they like third world dicks. So just understand, black men, you're nothing but some prostitutes to them, because other gay men are talking about more and more how they men are getting swooped up by these Indian men who pay the cost to be the boss, because you niggas out here broke. So they're going, so your mans is leaving you for these Indians, because the Indians want to get dicked down. Even if they're married, they want to get dicked down with big black dicks. So it's very interesting how that that person's supposed to be mayor, the one that's a whole hoax, he was all up in them Haitians' faces. And it's very interesting what's been going on with Haiti, but it's really the fact that they want their dicks, and that's all they want. So when Cardi B was saying all that ignorant shit, it was just her being a pimp, pimping out third world motherfuckers. I went to see this movie called Weapon. The movie was actually good. But when I looked at the producers and the directors of it, of course, you didn't see a melanin face. And it also makes me think who also financed it. That movie Weapon was a total appropriation of the black culture. Okay? And it was actually insulting. But I know nobody else is going to peep it. Weapon incorporated obeah, voodoo, hoodoo, root work, Wiccan, folkloric magic, bones below, and Wiccan, I'm going to say on the white side of the game, but we're just going to say for giggles and laughs, because we understand that white people stole their energies from black people. I seen Palo, Mayoba, and I also seen necromancy, and I also seen Ifa. Then what they did was that the white woman who played the witchy witch, they made her into a black woman. They had her with, of course, lace front, or a wig, and then they turned her into wearing a turban, and then they played in our faces and had the audacity with that thin hair. had with plaits, like she's an old school elder or ancestors. So they try to play in our faces, but the other work are bonsai trees. And also we can say, you know, the trees of what is it, elm. So therefore they're up there playing games, doing spell work, stealing all the shit. The bottom line is that it is the faults of these people with the houses, us getting on social media, always letting people of mixed company up in our shit. And because of that, they come in and make a mockery and then reframe the culture. Okay? And then I started to really peep, and then the story is very interesting with the children. I said, well, that could be a total folklore, because you know there's a folklore with the Atlanta murders with the children that was kidnapped, or the boys or whatever. And sometimes they say that they uproot themselves, alleged story. And then you have another story that's folkloric with the slave children. They say like the glow in the night children, especially in certain areas. Or even the cemetery children. And then there's that other story that came out about 4 years ago. And a girl was tripping out because in the woods, it'll be these children that would come out and harass her. So there's so many stories in reference to, you know, children's stories, right? And then we have the energies. Well, so with that, we just have to kind of watch out of these certain frequencies, you know, that's popping off out here, because they done stole our whole culture and then turn around and try to degrade it. And you know, Tron, I kind of want to see it, because that guy who's the dang cult leader, what's his name, Leto, he played in what's it called, Harley Quinn, what was that, he played Joker and shit. Y'all know his last name, I think Leto, you know, I always talk about him, but he's gonna be in the new Tron Aries. I keep telling y'all, I think it's going to be very interesting, right? What is also very interesting is the fact that you black men took your asses over there to that damn New Orleans wearing all them fucking red dresses like bitch niggas. Somebody's forwarded me an energy where a husband allegedly forwarded a picture to his wife with his friends wearing a red dress, and she told him, don't come home. These black men out here bitch niggas. Oop, did I say niggas? I'm trying to be nice. Bitch asses. They bitch. How come you couldn't wear a red suit, wear red dunks? I don't give a fuck, but you don't need to be up in a dress talking about it's for charity purposes. You're a bitch. And y'all really be out here really talking? You're a bitch. Y'all wearing red dresses? You're a bitch. You out there with them white women wearing red dresses. Then you get these interesting black girls talking about what's wrong with that day, cause you like a bitch. You like a bitch, man. I seen these little boys gallivanting around Atlanta wearing tennis dresses. I said, oh, raising bitch ass boys. Bitch. Just call them what they are. They psyops. Their red dress shit is whack as fuck. I don't care if it's been going on. Because all you see are a whole bunch of black men out there. What happened? And then when I'm seeing little boys, teenage boys wearing man, what happened? And guess what? It's not about having a father, because most of these fathers are gay. And they bitch. I had a spiritual constituents telling me, and two of them telling me how, what is it? She was dating this guy, still dating him. And both of them are equal to each other. And basically, she's a biologist, he's an engineer. And she's seeing him eye to eye. I said, that's a good thing, because most black men out here lying, talking about black women ain't got shit behind them. So she's at the table. She eating at the table with him. This nigga gonna turn around and tell her, you got too much pride. I said, oh. Then she told me that he talked to one of his friends because she's 35. He didn't told her that she don't have any kids, a man or whatever. There must be something wrong with her. I had another spiritual constituent tell me the same thing, and she's 41, and a black guy told her the same shit. I said, oh, those are bitch niggas. They bitch. I said, you got to be suspicious if men are talking like that. Furthermore, a black man go talk to another black man about a black woman to get advice. Oh, that's a bitch. I was wondering why in our lesson she started talking about pride. And I told her, I said, don't you dare let that man conform anything about you, because he's trying to basically condition you and bring you the fuck down, because he's jealous that you could see him at his level and he can't show you shit. Instead of him respecting, like, dang, she cool as shit, let me fuck with her like that, he worried about him knowing more than you and you knowing more than him. But they ain't gonna do that to no white bitch, though. Well, most time white bitches try to shut their mouth. That's why some white men have issues with their women if they are you know, kind of powerful, right? That's spell work. Don't be letting no black man put you under no fucking spell work like that. That's why they over here playing psychological games. I think psychology is for men. I think counseling is really for men. I think life coach really for men. I think retreats are for men. I think cults are for men. It's not for women. Because they're having a neuropsychosis. Is them passing too much semen across each other, or doing semen retention. Do you understand a vasectomy is semen retention? She told me he's 35 years old and he didn't got a vasectomy. I said, oh, he's a bitch. He's trying to save his semen. He a bitch. Of course he's having them mutual macho issues. Too much semen passing along yourselves. I'm finding out that men booty holes are different. No wonder these men out here sticking it in. Some kind of weird shit going on in them booty holes. That's why I said Cardi B talking about all that Haitian big dick. She talking about them big dicks going into men booty holes. Y'all done sat up and got caught up under the rabbit hole of Trump, huh? Him talking about federal DC, federal Philadelphia. He lying to y'all. But y'all have to understand, Trump is held hostage. You can't believe shit he's saying, because he has psyops behind him. He just there talking. He don't know what the fuck he's saying. He out here talking about, I'm going like a little boy who been bullied. I'm going to get the National Guard, FBI, and whoever else, and they're going to take over. And you get in their face. I've seen this. I said, oh, he's having an issue. He's having an issue. You can't even. They didn't put him up to this. There's like 25 different Trumps. We don't know which one this one is. You can't trust a man with an oval office that's white and gold, like he's a fucking third world motherfucker. That shit's so goddamn gaudy. I said, is that Noriega? Is that Ferdinand? Was it Ferdinand Marcos? Is that them Indonesians got shit like that. That's he didn't make the Oval Office into a third world precinct. I said, after they remove him from social media, who in the fuck is up in there really getting with the get down? What Indian? Because I've been looking at that Cash Patel, and I don't care what you say. My kid's father was on crack and shit and drugs, and you're not going to sit up and tell me he not on them narcotics. The way he be looking, I'm like, and somebody told me, oh, he might have a health issue. I said, yeah, he need to get high. Y'all out here tripping with this Trump dude, and you know he's not the president. Just understand there's a third world party up in there doing third world shit. Talking about get rid of homeless. How you gonna get rid of homeless when it was the governmental energies that kicked them out of the asylums, shipped them around the fucking United States from Alaska to Hawaii, kicked people out of housing, kicked people out of SROs, put these motherfuckers on buses from New York on, put them on airplanes. Did we forget the supposed immigrants? They put them on the buses and dropped them off in Philadelphia and also in DC and Martha Vineyards. Did we oh no, the Hamptons. Did we forget about that? A lot of those homeless don't even belong to your fucking state. In San Francisco alone, they went and messed with elderly housing and kicked out the elderly, and they were sleeping on the streets, especially down in there at the Embarcadero. You talk to a lot of the homeless in San Francisco, you hear a twang, and they talk about, oh, I'm from Florida, or I'm from New York. I came out here, they shipped me out. They let them out the fucking asylums, crazy as fucks. In Skid Row, they let them out of the asylums there too, and then had put them up to doing interesting things that people ended up allegedly murdered. Now all of a sudden they're a problem. Oh, the kids are a problem. It's been a problem in DC, and y'all ain't thought about shit. But y'all keep throwing them damn drugs up in that street because them kids on that fucking crack and hallucinogens. Talk about that part. Talk about what is that street over there in Philadelphia? Was it Kingston? And they keep giving them free dope. Can we talk about the Indians who you guys keep talking about, the immigrants up in these hotels, but it's Indians that own the hotels, the asylum seekers or whatever. So you guys set up and did all this so the Indians could make their money from the hotel business, and they were paid to house in hotels and motels drug addicts and homeless people and asylum seekers. Are we not going to address how they intentionally enforced during the pandemic for addicts to go live in motels, filthy hotels, and then had the Central American dope dealers come in and give them dope? And Mexicans? And then you wondering why ICE is happening? Because they don't need them anymore to sell dope and be mules. What the fuck we talking about here? Why are we falling for this when you know what's going on? Allegedly, they playing in your fucking faces. Go look at that Oval Office and they'll answer your fucking questions. Go look who in the hell is in your government. They'll answer your questions. And it is so that they're pulling people from around the world who have not had interactions with black people. Don't make excuses because DC is a federal place. DC is liberal. They are white racist liberals. They in a minute they're going to own homeless shelters, asylums, and home health care places. Watch it. The federal government is cracking down or doing an investigation over, what is it, $4 million worth of fraud of medical. Let's talk about them Indians owning medical clinics. We don't want to talk about that part. See, they make you all think it's all black people. It's not. They're hiding the Indians. It's a lot of them who are scamolas. They don't want to talk about the smuggling of what they call it, the smuggling gangs, the Middle Easterns who get paid to smuggle people. Y'all out here think it's all Mexico and cartel, be some of them Indians and Middle Easterns smuggling. Did y'all hear about that big drug bust that allegedly happened in Atlanta with the Asians up in a warehouse? And you know, black people say too much and do too much. Talk about it was $1 billion worth of crystal meth. And it's supposed to have been Chinese. Black women, you better watch out because the white girls believe they have superpowers. There's a show, I believe it's called American Gods, I think season 2, episode 7, a spiritual constituents forwarded over to me, where an Indian woman was trying to teach this white woman how to pull from herself by using the entity of Kali, and then disrespected voodoo, talking about it does too much. Voodoo is too sensationalized. And I cracked up because in that movie Weapons, the woman used a powdered gunpowder, do the it looked like gunpowder, light it up, and it does the Shangri-La. I told you that Indians and white people don't have souls and spirit. They're always looking for it. That's why they're so practical and they pull from within. White women, you don't have to do all that because you a Yankee. You do antebellum. You could pull from that. But most of you white women want to be superheroes. So the Indian woman is teaching you how to be a superhero. So now you guys have winged your way from black women and our bullshit that we do, and now you want to be a superhero because the Indian woman is teaching you how to pull from within yourself. That's why you bitches be up in there kickboxing and shit. Now you gonna have them disrespect fucking works. And white women do it too, because you know, white women believe that they are the razzmatazz, and they'll say, oh, that voodoo stuff is just this, it's just that. We do the real work. What, Sam Haines work? Stolen work? White people crack me up. Yeah, white women gonna get, that's why I said they are each other's allies. Just like Paula White stole from T.D. Jakes and Juanita Bynum. Then she had the audacity, then they had the audacity to put her in the fucking White House, and we all know that she was behind Zachary Timms' death, allegedly. The pastor Zachary Timms, we all know that. We have a new guerrilla pastor that's known as a motherfucker, Sarah Jakes. She was grunting. I said, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm tired of these guerrilla pastors. Now the women are doing it. Technically, Juanita Bynum should be in the White House. Not Paula White. Paula White is a hack. And I was thinking to myself, I said, what are beings of white people? When I took anatomy and science, we had to do two things. We cut a piece of a pig skin, and we had skin of a white person. And both were the same, and for 3 days, the same thing happened to the pig and the white skin. It was these little worms, and I'm not going to even say maggots, but it was these little worms that was on the skin, the same worm. And we had to put it under a microscope, and the teacher was showing the same energy. What are ya? And you heard me say Yankee because Confederate is really black. American black, American indigenous. Yankees is white. It's above y'all pay grade. Me and a spiritual constituents, we were talking about Jim Jones. And we were talking about Guyana, South America. And I said, through my studying and talking to various people, before Jim Jones got there were a whole bunch of black Guyanese people. And then they said after Jim Jones, there wasn't that many black Guyanese people, and the Indians replaced the Guyanese people and the Asians. And they were kind of insinuating, I was talking about it to someone, that was a lot of those families not so much American, but them, face down. Did we really watch a mass murder? Now, and I talked to someone who they're Gen X today, but they were part of that. And they said, look, I told you that and it was supposed to be a retreat, but it was some other shit popping off. Remember, we talked about a lot of shit. We just talking about Jim Jones. I see Umar Johnson. He's on the loose, huh? On the loose again. This time in his rant and psychological shit, he shout out California and was very direct of what cities. And I'm just going to say he shout out Oakland. I'm just going to consider, okay, Oakland, can I share you with San Francisco? Can I? Because it's very clear he must look at my videos, because when I talked about him, I said, damn, he shout out everywhere else except for California. Then next thing you know, he all up in Sacramento and shit, I believe. I was like, oh. He talk about everything else but psychology, huh? But trying to put you under preemptive programming as he's talking to you in double talk. Anyway, this is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.